Today's the day we're going to hit MR30, and considering that we started playing Warframe on August 8th, that's going to mean that we're hitting MR30 in under 2 months of starting the game. And so I not only want to hit MR30 today, but I also want to do some fun giveaways, and I also want to talk about what my journey to MR30 looks like, give some tips for how I went about doing it so fast, for anyone else who's wondering how I went about it so that they can grind out their MR ranks quickly if they would like to, since I've been getting a lot of questions about it. The first thing I want to get out of the way right away is that being a streamer, being a content creator, I had some advantages that a typical average player would not have had. I did receive a lot of gifts. Most of them were cosmetic, and any weapon and Warframe gifts that I received, I simply refused to use them. I had like a personal rule where I just basically said, hey, unless I actually grind out the frame, obtain it from like my own personal gameplay, I am not allowed to level it up and I am not allowed to use it. So you see that I have some frames right here, 2 Citrines, a Daggeth. These are frames that were gifted to me. I'm refusing to use. I'm not allowed to touch them. I didn't want to delete them because one, that felt a little mean. I don't know. I feel like if people spent plat on me, it just felt a little rude to just go ahead and throw it in the garbage can. And there were some gifts I received that, I was willing to use into this challenge. Some because I felt like it was fair game, and I was told by most people that like this is a very common gift for players to receive who come to the game if they have like a friend that already plays the game. Or it's just, it got gifted and, once the damage was done, the damage was done. There was nothing I could do about it. Those gifts were, of course, boosters, which I have a ludicrous amount of boosters. Formas, which, listen, I've got like 1,900 forma or something like that, 1,880. Damage is done, although we'll talk about that in a bit. I feel like that's not super important to the MR grind specifically. And the other area that, I definitely got a lot of assistance with when it came to gifting was I got gifted a decent amount of relic packs. So those are areas where my affinity grind speed is definitely going to be expedited when contrasted with a typical average player, is what it is. I tried to, make sure that I was the one actually doing the grind in, as many circumstances and as many situations as I could. I made sure I was the one doing all the quests. I was the one getting all the Warframe parts, stuff like that. In terms of the boosters as well, if you're looking to go on this grind yourself, I talked about this in a different video, but even if I did not get gifted the boosters, I would have personally probably bought Prime Access. I think Prime Access is absolutely massive because some of the main things that you're going to want when you're grinding out MR is a resource booster. It goes so long, mainly because of all the resources you're going to need to craft a lot of weapons and frames. Specifically when it comes to Orkin cells for all the Prime frames and all the Prime weapons, you need a ridiculous amount. Also massive for a lot of other resources, Argon crystals, plastids, polymer bundle. There's a lot of stuff that doubling is really nice. Orkin cells is probably the main one. An affinity booster comes with this as well. Also very nice. Another thing that this comes with is 4,000 platinum, which you can use to buy all of the Warframe slots and weapon slots that are going to be necessary to be able to harbor all of these weapons and frames so you can level them up. If I was not gifted these things, I would have bought Prime Access personally because I think it's that good of a value. So to put my money where my mouth is, we can roll the footage. I took the $140 that I would have spent on Prime Access had I not been gifted these things, and I donated it to a veterans charity. We'll talk about how I went about grinding all the other stuff as we get going, but I do want to start leveling up a weapon or two because where we currently stand, we're really close to MR30. We are currently 26,000 mastery away, which is approximately 9 weapons, and I do have enough weapons to be able to max out. And then we'll also do some giveaways on YouTube too. We'll give away a few things. I'll pick some people who like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment on this YouTube video. Pick a few of you and I'll gift you some Warframe slots or weapon slots or something like that, booster, to help you on your MR grind journey, similar to the way that people gifted me and helped me out. I just want to keep the chain going, if that makes sense. Pass it on, you know what I mean? Now, looking back into the mastery rank up grind, right? If we look at everything I have done, I currently have 547 of the 724 things in the game mastered. I know that there's more than 724, some are hidden on here. For all the Warframes, I have every single Prime frame in the game except for Valbin Prime. I have all of the components for him. The problem with Valbin Prime is I think he's like 9,000 cryotics, 7,000 oxium, and 20 nitane extracts or something like that. So in terms of like materials to craft him, he's an absolute menace. So I haven't really put him together yet because I'd rather spend the cryotic and the oxium and the nitane extracts on other things that require less. Yeah, which frames were the most annoying to get? Mesa, I heard, is terrible to get. The base frame is an absolute atrocity to farm out. So this was a Deviri circuit one I just waited for. Saren was... How did I get Saren? Saren is really annoying if I recall correctly, because she was an assassination, but to be able to do the assassination, you need to accrue like this currency. You need to do this one mission to get the currency to be able to do the assassination mission, and then you have to hope that you get the right pieces in the assassination mission. That one was kind of a pain. Saren is definitely potentially a circuit frame. As I said before, in terms of the benefits that I had, I said that getting gifted a lot of Forma is not super important when it comes to the MR grind. The one exception to that is that, aside from the couple of weapons that require a Forma to craft, are the weapons that you can level up to 40. Specifically, the Kuva weapons, the sister weapons. I know you can level Paracesis to 40, Void Rig, Bone Widow. Anything that you can crank up to level 40, Formas are definitely very, very, very important in that regard. That is another area where my MR grind experience is going to be expedited significantly faster, just because I have so many Forma. You also, if I'm not mistaken, I think you need a Forma to be able to craft every single clan dojo weapon. I could be wrong on that. This is basically going to be all the weapons that require field drawn if you get them from the energy lab. This is going to be all of the weapons that require mutagen mass if you get them from the bio lab, and all of the weapons that require detonite injectors if you get them from the chem lab. Okay, maybe not every single one, because the Ignis Wrath requires argon crystals instead of the Forma, but most of them require Forma. I also want to throw out, while we're talking about it, a lot of the weapons that I am still missing are weapons that require mutagen mass, detonite injectors, and field drawn from the clan dojo. Previously, I made a video about the new player experience, and I kind of said a good thing to do is to always be crafting a mutagen mass, always be crafting a field drawn, and always be crafting a detonite injector. In conjunction with that, because I did not realize how many field drawn detonite injectors and mutagen masses you needed, in conjunction with that, you should also always be taking a peek at the invasions and doing any invasion that gives you 3 of a reward of either field drawn, detonite injectors, or mutagen mass. That is also going to help you get those weapons significantly more quickly. I'm a little bit behind on those, but I'm trying to crank out the invasions. While we're on the topic of invasions, 7 weapons that come specifically from invasions. These are, of course, going to be the Wraith versions of the Karak, the Latron, the Strun, and the Twin Vipers, the Vandal versions of the Dara and the Snipetron, and then the Sheev. Now, what's interesting about the Sheev is right now during the Halloween event, the Knights of Nabarus, you can also get the Sheev and all of its components from the Knights of Nabarus, which is usually the Necrolis. You can get this in Deimos. You can buy them from the daughter, is the Knights of Nabarus vendor, in exchange for mother tokens. So I would recommend going and grabbing the Sheev whenever you get a chance, just because then you don't have to worry about doing it through invasions. You don't have to worry, you know, wait for the components to pop up in the rotation, but, you know, just throwing that out there. Now, before we go and continue to level up more of our weapons, we are now 22,000 MR away from MR30. I need to go and guild my final MOA right here so that I can actually earn affinity from it. So, go to legs to guild our final MOA. Now, I'm naming all of my MOAs after nuts. So, boom. Almond. And I think now is a good time to talk about guilding items, companions, and things of that nature. So we already talked about kind of how I went about getting all the Warframes. For companions, I have every single one of them. Wasn't too terrible. What I kind of did was I just did RNG crafts until I got 2 different versions. And then after that, I sought out prints specifically so I could target the other 2, because I didn't really want to coin flip. If I have a 75% chance of getting a new one, I just did it random, but once I got to the 50-50 area, I went out and sought blueprints and whatnot. Same goes for Cavats. With the Helmet Charger, this one you had to get specifically, you need to get like the cyst, and you need to intentionally not remove it. I think, how long do you have to have it on for? Do you have to have it on you? Have it on your frame, the little pink thing on their neck? a week, if you have it on there for a week, then you can go to the incubator and you can make a helmet charger the infected pet. Or is it the incubator or is it helmet that you go to? It's the incubator, right? Now, the 3 Predacites and the 3 Volpaflas were a little interesting to get, so those are all specific to Deimos. And so, you know what, let me scurry over there just so I can show what I'm talking about. Now, these were a little interesting because you got to go to the sun on Deimos and you have to do either Predacite revivification or Volpafla revivification. To do this, you need a mutagen. So for the mutagens, you just buy them from sun. You need the mutagens and the antigens. I just bought whatever the cheapest ones were. I didn't really care too much about like optimizing their stats or anything of that nature. I was primarily concerned with MR. Primarily because at the time I did this is still when like having a Smita Cavat was pretty much the only pet you wanted on. Maybe nowadays it's actually a little bit more important to make sure you pick the correct antigen. I don't really know, to be completely honest. That's you know, I'm not knowledgeable on that yet. But just bought the mutagens and the antigens from Sun, whatever the cheapest ones were to craft for me. And then to acquire the animals, I had to go out in Deimos, and it's not enough to just tag them with the tranq rifle and save them. You need to get a weakened version of them. So what you have to do is you have to go out into the wild, you have to find the one that you want, and then you have to let the enemies like basically beat it up. And then once they beat it up enough, you'll see the claim diamond on it, the little claim thing with the little paw print, and their name will say weakened blank blank blank. You only get one to be able to craft it if you harvest a weakened version. So if you just see one running around and you tranq rifle it and then you grab it, it won't appear here, which I didn't know, and it took me a little bit of time because I was like, I just tranq rifled a MedJ Predacite. Why is it not appearing here? Learned that it has to be weakened. So the best way I found to do that was to do the hunts, do Ivara and go invisible, and then just kind of like monitor it and follow it around a little bit until some enemies jumped it. Sometimes I would also try to like pull enemies over in its direction, if that made sense. So that's how I went about these. And then of course these are a little bit unique in the sense that you have to level them up all the way once, and then you have to come over here to experimental procedures and spend 5,000 rep and 10 tokens to guild them, and then level them up again, where that second level up will actually count towards your actual MR rank. That's how I went about getting all of my companions. Now, when it comes to robotic, you know, it's not as daunting as it looks. A lot of the robotic stuff you just craft through like clan blueprints and getting stuff out into the wild. Some of them are prime, and they all come with their own weapon as well. For the most part, every single time you get a robotic companion, with the exception of some, you also get its weapon along with it. Not really that bad at all. The only interesting part about this is the MOAs and the hounds. The hounds you need to get specifically from doing sister hunts, so I'm still missing the Byra hound and the Dorma hound because I haven't done a whole lot of sister hunts yet. And then the MOAs we just talked about. For the MOAs, I did pretty much the same thing that I did for the Predacites and the Volpaflas, in terms of I just bought the cheapest brackets, core, and gyro, however it's pronounced in this context, and I stapled them together, leveled them up once, gilded them, leveled them up again for them to count. So that's kind of how I went about like a lot of the pet grinding stuff. We've got through a couple categories now. Should we level up our new set of stuff and then continue on? Speaking of the Kuva Tonkor, might be a good time to talk about what my approach has been to Kuva and Tenet weapons. Probably one of the longest grind aspects of this journey, and an aspect that I'm actually not done with quite yet. I think I have approximately half of the Kuva weapons, and again, some of these are not going to appear because they're only going to appear if I've actually used them. So like I'm literally using the Tonkor right now, even though it's grayed out, but I'm still missing the Tsar, the Ogress, the Comb, the Karek, the Brahma, the Chakur, the Dragoon. In terms of secondaries, looks like the only one I'm missing is the Seer, so I've actually got every single secondary aside from the Seer. And then, I think there was one, yeah, the Kuva Shield Egg, and then I know there's 2 Kuva Arc weapons as well, the Gratler and the Ayanga. So I'm about halfway through the Kuva weapons. The Tenet weapons, I'm significantly further along, mainly because of the fact that, so I have the Glaxion and the Feryx right here. I'm missing the Envoy, Flux Rifle, Tetra, and Arcoplasmor. And then when we come to secondaries, I believe there was only 1 Tenet secondary, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, never mind. There's like 6 of them. But the interesting thing about the sister weapons, and this is kind of going back to how I said I've done a lot of Railjack, and that's how I kind of passively got Sevagoth and Oberon and whatnot. I also passively got all of the corrupted hollow keys. I think you need 200 total to be able to buy all of the Tenet melee weapons, which is the Agendis, the Exec, the Grigori, and the Livia. So I'm a little bit further along on Tenet weapons, just because like I knocked out all the melee ones, and the Feryx is the 5th one that you need, which technically a primary weapon. I knocked all those out just kind of passively while I was farming Railjack. So my philosophy with those has been just kind of do them, you know, maybe do one every couple of days. I'm doing the Kuva ones first because the Kuva ones take, like, the actual process of getting all the murmurs to reveal your symbols for Kuva and whatnot takes a lot longer than revealing the symbols for the sister weapons for the Tenet hunts. So I've been doing the Kuva ones first because my logic was if I do the sister hunts, which are short, and then do the Kuva hunts, which are long, it'll make the Kuva hunts feel really, really drawn out and boring. Whereas if I do the Kuva hunts first, which are really, really long, and then do the sister hunts, which by contrast are shorter, it'll make the sister hunts feel really, really good. Another philosophy I've had towards the Kuva hunts and the sister hunts is in this game, one of the most annoying resources to farm is cryotic. And you need a lot of cryotic, and it's really, really annoying because you literally only get it through excavation missions. So one of my philosophies when doing Kuva missions has been I always do all the excavation nodes first. That way, as I'm doing Kuva hunts, I'm passively accruing a lot of cryotics. And thanks to the resource booster, I get double cryotic. So I think in a Kuva hunt or Tenet or sister hunt excavation mission, you need to do 5 drills. For every single planet that you do, you're getting 1,000 cryotic. It builds up over time, right? You got like 30, 40 total Kuva/sister hunts that you're gonna have to do eventually. Let's say you go an average of 2.5 planets across all of those, I think is the way it would average out. It would average out to be probably 2.5 stabs, so 2.5 planets per. That's a 2,500 cryotic per hunt. You'll stack it up over time. So that's kind of how I've been treating that. And I don't want to say I'm never in a situation, like I haven't had stockpiles of cryotic by any means, but like it just kind of passively builds up in the background. That's been really, really nice. Another invasion weapon off the list, which probably makes this an okay time to talk about weapons, right? We've already talked a little bit about Kuva weapons and Tenet weapons. I'm going to be 100% honest. Most of my weapons, I just got them from the market. I crafted them from Clan Dojo prints, or I just kind of got them as I was going. You got like frame specific weapons. You got like Evensong and Harmony and Canter and stuff like that for Jade. You got the Citrine weapons. Like a lot of these, I haven't really hard focused any weapon grinds. As you can tell, I am missing a lot of weapons. The ones I do want to specifically point out here are probably the kit guns. You got 6 kit guns that you get specifically from Fortuna. So you got like Vermis Splicer, Tomb Finger. I think there's like Spore Lacer is another one. Rattle Guts. I know there's Catch Moon. There's 6 total. I can't remember them all off the top of my head. So for the kit guns, Rude Zood. For people who are not familiar with how kit guns work and basically any modular thing in the game, when it comes to modular stuff, as far as it relates to giving you affinity or mastery rank, because there's 6 options in your top components, you need 1 kit gun with each of these options, right? Whatever you pick down here in the second slot and whatever you pick down here doesn't matter in any capacity when it comes to mastery rank. Obviously, it's going to matter when it comes to the functionality of the gun and the stats of the gun and things of that nature when it comes to gameplay. But strictly as it, you know, comes to MR, all that matters is that you have 1 kit gun that you've constructed with Catch Moon, 1 that you've constructed with Gaze, 1 that you've constructed with Rattle Guts, etc., etc. And this goes for pretty much every single modular thing in the game. Same thing when it comes to Zaws and Cetus, same thing when it comes to amps, same thing when it comes to K drives, etc., right? So same approach that I took for the companions and the MOAs. I just made sure I got 1 of each of these, and then I bought 6 of the cheapest thing that I could get right here. I believe it was the Haymaker, if I'm not mistaken. And then I bought 6 of the cheapest thing I could get down here, which I believe was, I think it was Killstream. So that's how I went about that. While we're in Fortuna, let's talk about K drives as well. I have done every single one of my K drives. Same thing. Doesn't matter what your reactor is as far as MR is concerned. Doesn't matter what your nose is and doesn't matter what your jet is. All that matters is that you have 1 of each K drive of each of these. You need 1 constructed with Bad Baby, 1 with Fever Spine, 1 with Flat Belly, etc., etc. So for the cheapest ones here, I think I had 5 cold fusers, because we 5 total. I think I did 5 Beakies. And then I think I did 5 twin cavets is what I did. Those were just like, in terms of like resources I had to craft those were the easiest ones. A lot of people told me that K-Drive MR grinding is absolutely horrible. It definitely wasn't super fun, but I'm not sure I would call it horrible for 2 reasons. 1, I had an affinity booster, which plays a massive part. It literally cuts the time in half of grinding these, which helped a lot. 2, Unlike a lot of other modular stuff, you don't have to guild K drives to get MR gains from them. The second you craft it and the second you start leveling it up, you immediately start getting MR gains. Unlike kit guns and Zaws where you basically, and amps where you basically have to level them up twice, K drives you only have to level up one time, which obviously cuts the grind in half, which is really, really nice. And the way I kind of went about K drive grinding is basically, as I was working my way up the vent kid standing, as I was working my way up the ranks and getting all the rep, doing my daily rep caps, basically what I would do is, whenever I was able to browse the wares and get a new board, so whenever I could buy Bad Baby, I did. And then when I ranked up and I could buy Flat Belly, I did. And then when I ranked up, I buy Needle Nose, I did. I would basically construct my boards as I was getting my vent kid standing, and I would use whatever my newly constructed board was to get my vent kid standing for that day. So I was getting my affinity for my K drive while getting vent kid standing at the same time, as opposed to using the same K drive to get to rank 5 with vent kids and then getting all 4 of your other boards and then leveling them all up separately. Just kind of 2 birds, 1 stone, that not nearly as bad. The unique board I want to point out here that you do not buy from Roxy is Fever Spine. These 4 you buy from her with rep. Fever Spine you get specifically from a Deimos race. It's in like the far top left of the map. It's really, really annoying. It took me like 10 tries. But the nice thing is it's a 100% drop chance, so you only have to actually beat the race once, which makes it a little bit easier. So we're 8,469 MR away from being able to do our 30 challenge. Let's go ahead and come to our arsenal. And we only need to form this bad boy 1 more time, and then we can level it up to 40, which is the max rank for a Kuva weapon. Speaking of kit guns, so there's 9 total. 7 of them you have to craft, 2 of them you just get through questing. So the Moat Prism and the Sirocco you just get from questing, and then the other 7 you have to construct. The only one that I've really put any actual thought into constructing is Clamora 7. When I say Clamora is 7, I'm referring to this amp chart right here. These are all the different prisms, which again, similar to all the other amp stuff, having a unique one of each of these is all that matters for MR. But amps, I try to be a little bit more intentional about actually getting good combinations as opposed to just buying the cheapest stuff. So I know there's a lot of like talk about which ones are the best, but for the most part, I heard that 177 is extremely good, 477 is extremely good, and 777 is extremely good. There's probably more combos than that, but I tried to be intentional. Other than that, my 2, my 3, my 5, and my 6, which I'm not all the way done with yet. I'm not caring too much about making sure that I match those with their best possible combinations. Maybe that's a throw. I don't really know right now. My thought process is I care about the MR at the current moment. If I ever come to the realization that one, like, let's say like 5, 2, 3 or something like that is super meta, if that ever comes up, my thought process is I can just go and rebuild it and it'll be fine. Right now I'm just focused on the MR grind. Finishing our conversations about weapons, and I probably should have mentioned this with the prime frames as well, but another area where I had a lot of help in, where your journey is going to be a little bit different, is specifically when it comes to prime weapons that come from vaulted relics. Being a content creator, it's significantly easier for me to just say, hey, everyone chilling in my live stream chat, does anyone have some vaulted relics that they want to run with me right now? And I'm much more likely to find people willing to rock and roll with me. As an average typical player who doesn't have access to that, it's going to be a little bit harder for you. However, not impossible, because if you go to the description of the video, you'll see a Discord server link in there, which is the My Community Discord server. And I basically call on both newer players who are looking for assistance and veteran players who are looking to assist others to both join that Discord server, hang out in the LFG channel, maybe throw out a message, hey, I got some vaulted relics. Does anyone want to come in and pop them with me and get some, rare prime loot? Or, hey, does anyone have some vaulted relics that they don't mind if I hop in and run with them? It's not going to be as easy, but I've been told from countless veterans in the Warframe community that for the most part, if you ask for help and you're respectful about it and you're civil about it and you ask for help in the right places, that people are willing to help out. Warframe veterans like to help. They have hundreds of vaulted relics that they don't know what to do with. So our Discord server, hop in, check out the LFG channel. Maybe you can find some people to run with. Another thing I want to talk about with weapons is syndicate weapons. So this is an area where you're going to need a little bit of plat or a lot of patience. You can, of course, either get plat just by buying it from the market. If you're on PC, highly recommend waiting for a discount coupon. That's why I have 5,000 plat, because I got a 75% discount coupon, and so I just bought the max amount. So I bought like 4,300 plat. I haven't really used too much of it. I'm using the plat primarily to gift things to other people, like I said. So for the most part, I've been only using plat that I've earned to buy things. And when I say plat that I've earned, I mean plat that I've earned by like getting extra prime items and selling them on the market, selling prime sets and things like that that I didn't need. And the reason you'll need a little bit of plat is because when it comes to syndicates, you can of course get reputation. I think you can get up to 4 of your syndicates maxed out. I've only been working on 2, but every syndicate is going to have 4 to 5 components for arc weapons and arc melees, as well as 3 specific unique weapons. And so, of course, for 2 of the syndicates, you're going to be able to get all 3 of those weapons and all of the parts for the arc weapons and the arc guns, just as you accrue reputation over time. However, for the 3 to 4 syndicates that you are unable to level up, you'll simply have to buy these weapons and arc components off of other players with platinum. And you can either earn that platinum, like I said, by selling prime stuff. You can earn it, you can just straight up buy it. Or if you're extra patient, what you can do is you can basically level up your own syndicates, buy extra copies of these weapons, and then trade them with other people who need your syndicate weapons in exchange for their syndicate weapons that you need. The only other thing I can think of is a lot of the weapons that come specifically from things like bounties. So there's some weapons that come from like Zeraman bounties, Sanctum bounties, Deimos bounties. For the most part, I have all of those just from grinding those out. The only other weapons that you're going to need to be really patient for is the Barrow weapons. I believe are the Prisma weapons specifically. I don't know if Barrow sells any other weapons aside from Prisma weapons, with the exception of Gotva Prime, which at the time of recording this video is available. I don't know if it'll still be available by the time the video is up, but hopefully. You also got some like login weapons. You have some event specific weapons. Some weapons you're just not going to be able to get, but things like the Prisma Gricata, Prisma Grinlock, Prisma Tetra, you're just going to have to either wait until Barrow comes around to sell those or buy them off the market with platinum. I do want to show off a few more things of my MR journey because there are a few things. Obviously, the majority of your MR journey is going to come from getting stuff. So Warframe's primary weapons, secondary weapons, melee weapons, kit guns. But we have this second category where we have missions. I have done every single normal mission in the entire game, obviously, because I do have access to Steel Path. That's the only way you can get access to Steel Path. I have done basically, as you can say, pretty much no Steel Path missions. Pretty much none of them. I mean, well, it's interesting because I've done a lot of them because I've done a lot of like Steel Path relics and Steel Path resource farms and things of that nature. But I got taxied to those Steel Path nodes, and the nodes only count as completed if you have access to that planet in Steel Path, which I think the only planet I have access to at the Steel Path is Earth at the current moment, just because I haven't focused on Star Trek grinding Steel Path whatsoever. That'll probably be the very last thing I do. For Railjack intrinsics, I am rank 10 on every single Railjack intrinsic, all 5 of them. As I said, I played a lot of Railjack. Main way I did just double dipping. I did relics. I did a lot of Voidjack relics, which got me all the Sevagoth pieces, got me all the Oberon pieces, and obviously got all my intrinsics. For Drifter intrinsics, that I'm kind of letting fill up passively as I do my Duviri cycles every single week, because every week I have a new normal Duviri circuit to do for a base frame that I need to get, and then I have the Steel Path Duviri circuit to do for the 2 incarnates. So I just kind of accrue the intrinsics passively in the background, and I've just been ranking them up slowly as I go. I think I have 1 Duviri intrinsic at rank 10, and then I have another at like rank 8, and then the other 2 are like rank 4, rank 5 or something like that. What do we have here? We're going to go in with our best loadout. That would be Gauss Prime. That would be our Torrid. Secondary weapon doesn't matter because we're just going to be using Torrid. And Glaive Prime, maybe?
Tenno, this is your true master test. Your only objective, survival.
Okay. Whoa. Okay. Oh, I have to kill 20 enemies. Done. Now I have to kill bosses. That's a boss. Okay. I gotta kind of try and keep an eye on my health, because if I start to get low, I can phase into operator real quick. Okay, so far so good, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't know what's gonna... I don't know, something could change. Okay, we're gonna spawn the Eximus enemies now. This is where I gotta be a little careful. My 2's about to run out, so I'm gonna come back to this pillar and turn it off. And then redo the red line as well. What the... Huh? Something's wrong with my keyboard. Something's wrong with my keyboard, I don't know what. Oh, God. No. No, 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 no. There's no way. Something's wrong with my keyboard. It's a bug. Hit the quick unplug, plug back in. Press escape. Thank you. Oh, God. Oh, my life support's almost out. Oh, no. Oh, God. I need these life support things, okay? Stabilized a little bit. Get the 2 back on. Holy! Are you kidding me? That is not funny, Digital Extremes. It's not funny. I don't know what my heart rate is right now, but it's something, that's for sure. Okay, we're just gonna keep moving. Oh, God. Okay. 10 bosses. Six to go. 5. That going again. One more. One more. And then gotta hit this. Woo! MR30? Yeah! Oh, yeah! Oh, let's go. That was something. Lotus sent us True Master Slate, Umbra Forma, the True Master emote, True Master Sumdali, and Teshin. Congratulations, Mactics. Today, I greet you as an equal. You may now use the True Master's font in any relay to bless all Tenno present. So now I can give people blessings, huh? MR30 officially done. Obviously, we have to get to the legendary ranks, but that's kind of how I went about my MR30 journey. As I said at the beginning, wouldn't have been possible without all the advice, all the guidance, and all the assistance I received from such a welcoming Warframe community. You know, not just for the actual logistics of having, you know, things like the boosters, having people to run with and things of that nature, but also just, you know, all the cool people I met in Warframe made me want to stick around in this game and made me want to continue playing just for the sheer sake of community and just for the sheer social aspect. A lot of you guys are super helpful. A lot of you guys are super kind. A lot of you guys are super respectful. The positive impact that you bring to the Warframe community outweighs any negativity that I experienced at any time in my journey by a magnitude of 100. Obviously, we're going to continue going and hitting the legendary ranks, get up to LR4, and then we're going to get our build crafting on. We still have a lot of Warframe left to play and a lot of Warframe left to experience. We're not going anywhere anytime soon. But now we're in a position where we can focus a little bit more on trying to learn the in-depth intricacies of the game, specifically when it comes to build crafting, and focus a lot more on helping other people the same way that help has been bestowed onto me, answering questions for others the way that my questions were answered, sending gifts to others to help them in their starter journey the way that my starter journey was aided by gifts. Hopefully you've enjoyed this journey so far from an entertainment perspective. Hopefully this journey has provided some information from an educational perspective, and I just want to thank each and every single person, all of the people currently standing in front of me in the dojo, in conjunction with everyone in my live stream at twitch.tv/Mactics, everyone who supported us on YouTube, and just everyone who's been around for the ride. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're looking forward to continue hanging out with you through the rest of our Warframe journey.